I tell them and they never believe me. They say, how did you do this? And I say, you know, somebody waved some money in my face and I said, yes. I tell them up front, I don't even know how to draw. And they look at me like, what? Welcome back to Kimchi Studios, where we make fine art here on this channel. I'm talking 3D printable gadgets, sculptures, and other junk that you need. Links to all of my original stuff in the description below. I hope you all appreciate my 3D printing community friendly pink background. Trying to fit in here. If you've been watching this channel, many of you have not, welcome. I talk a lot about VR sculpting and how it's changed my workflow. I talk a lot about how VR sculpting really changed everything for me. I went from somebody who couldn't do basic drawing and art to somebody who can produce basic 3D printables, sculptures, a few gadgets, combined sculpture with gadget, and now I'm able to do simple drawing. I'm not kidding. After more than 30 years of thinking that I couldn't do it, I've actually been able to do it, and I'm gonna tell you how I did it today. So I know it sounds a little goofy, but it's true. I did the backwards route. So this is my map for you to think about. You don't have to do exactly what I've done. I function a little bit differently than a lot of other people. I go the kind of the opposite route that a lot of people would. Most people would start with 2D drawing, right? They'd think two-dimensionally first, and then they would move on to the three-dimensional. I didn't do that, and I'm gonna explain to you why and why you should try it too. This is my magic tool. This is a VR headset. I have two of them. I have the Oculus Rift, the original Oculus Rift, and I have the Metaquest 2. Both are sufficient for my needs. I use them for VR sculpting, so much so that I got tired of putting the controllers down, and I made a VR holster, which you can check out. I have videos for it, okay? It's great. It looks like a chameleon, so I called it the chameleon. Again, it has a detachable TPU squishy tongue. In fact, let me show you how. You have it in there. Here's your smartphone. This is a Galaxy S4 Ultra. I don't know what this is called. S21. Boom, like that, and it has retention, okay? I'm not holding it. It has retention. You can see. I love this thing. This was one of my basic designs that I came up with in CAD, but I enjoy VR sculpting more than anything else that I've ever done. I was able to make this Mechanicus Adeptus medallion thing, this Batman bookend sculpture. VR sculpting really lowered the bar and created a stress-free environment for untrained, non-artist people like myself to explore their own creativity and really to kind of get lost in the process, which is a good thing. VR sculpting really helped me to focus because you're in the VR environment. You know, you can listen to your favorite podcast or music or whatever you want. You can put reference images in there and you just sculpt away. You really get lost. It's amazing, really. And if you saw my latest Halloween sculpt videos, here is a functional sculpture. You feed your little candy like Reese's Pieces or Skittles, has a little butt. When you rotate it, the candy comes out down the tongue. Go check that video out. So I made this solely in VR. I did not do anything else other than use VR to make this sculpture. It's a mechanical thing. And really this opened up so many possibilities. I don't know if you could tell, but I'm really excited, okay? I like Shapelab because it's polygonal based. So my computer, which is older now, like I'm running a i7 Skylake, like 6700K, not overclocked, 48 gigabytes of RAM, and a GTX 1080 Ti. So my computer is getting older, but it's still performing. And it performs really, really well with Shapelab. It doesn't need as much of the graphics card or the CPU to, you know, sculpt with polygons. And if you've seen some of my posts on Instagram or TikTok, or even maybe here on the community post, I have posted some of my better pumpkins that I've carved this year. So because of the VR sculpting and the success that I have experienced with it, I was able to take gigs that paid good money, and I was able to explore subtractive sculpting. Carving pumpkins is pretty interesting. Every year the crop can be different. Every pumpkin can be different. You really want a thick, deep, healthy pumpkin, but you don't always get that. So every pumpkin that I did was kind of a challenge, and you know, now I'm used to it. And I even helped carve an over 1,100 pound pumpkin. It turned out to be a very popular success locally, and so that was really fun. And I gained a ton of confidence because of the VR sculpting. You can actually see the improvement in the quality of my sculpting, even with the subtractive stuff. Go take a look at my Instagram. You can see my local gigs that I did a year prior, and then you can see what I was able to accomplish this year. The difference is night and day. With the computer-based stuff and VR-based stuff, you have the undo button, right? And then you have these tools that kind of aid you. Now, you don't get that tactile feedback. That's what I really gained when I started exploring the physical mediums. You could do it with clay. I did it with pumpkin. When I started to carve details and really, I got to feel it. You feel it as you're sculpting it. With the VR and the mouse, you don't really get that feedback, that sensory feedback that you need. And when you get that sensory feedback and you're looking at it and you're feeling it, it really starts to set in and you really start to gain confidence. You're educating yourself of form, shape, and contrast in lighting. Because I was able to do that and have more confidence, I was able to finally attempt to do drawing. Now, I couldn't do drawing, and when I do these pumpkin gigs, people say, hey, wow, that's really great, you're really talented, and thank you. But I tell them, and they never believe me. They say, how did you do this? And I say, somebody waved some money in my face, and I said yes. I tell them up front, I don't even know how to draw. And they look at me like, what? Like I'm insulting them, like I'm making a joke. And I say, no, for real, like I can't draw. And so that bugged me. That bugged me a lot. They expected me to be able to draw. And I'm like, no, I can doodle, but I can't like draw. And they're like, shut up. I took that kind of personally and I thought, why am I not drawing? Like, why am I not even trying? Every now and then you should be drawing, right? I did some practice, with the skull, the planes of the face. I really wanted to get that down, and I think I started to really get the hang of it at the end of the pumpkin season this year. So that was important to me. I put a lot of work into that, but I still felt kind of guilty for not knowing how to draw. If I want to be a serious, well-rounded, self-taught artist, it's time to draw. So what I did was I had this reference photo that I found, and I can't find it on Google again. This is an awesome zombie picture, and I had just finished playing Resident Evil 3 one more time. That's my favorite. I don't know, what's your favorite Resident Evil? I don't even like zombies, but I love like that kind of a game where you're exploring. Like, I'm a big Metal Gear Solid fan. I love, sneaking around, exploring, dodging, I think it's just a great game. I love the atmosphere of it. I'm big into game atmospheres, and I think Resident Evil really nails it, especially the old ones. The new ones, not so much. I don't really like those. I don't know where this came from. I think I might have gotten it on Pinterest, and I don't have it like an account or anything that saves anything. So whoever the original artist is, this is great. This is great. But this is a fantastic zombie photo, and you'll notice just scanning it with your eyes, this is just a bunch of simple shapes and contrast, basically. Because of the pumpkin sculpting and the fact that you really get your sculptures, any kind of sculpture to really pop if you can get that depth and you can get that rounded look to it. A lot of people, including myself, we start out going like flat. We want to get all the details mapped out on a, like almost on a 2D surface, but you're not working with two-dimensional shapes. Like, this is a three-dimensional shape mapped out onto a two-dimensional surface. And because they have the contrast in there, right, it creates that three-dimensional effect. So what I did was I was able to combine the two, the three-dimensional experience with the two-dimensional thought process, and I just went really slowly and I did a reference drawing. I didn't draw this from scratch. I used this as a reference, and I was able to do pretty good, like that's pretty good. I've never been able to do that. I'm not even kidding. Like, I just sat down and I just breezed through it, and I'm pretty satisfied with the results. And don't worry, I even wrote down here that it was a copy from reference. Okay, I'm not stealing this. I think working from reference is extremely important, especially for aspiring artists and just anybody in general. You got to look at something. Unless you've completely internalized the processes and the techniques and you can really draw from memory, it's going to be rough. So definitely use a reference in a lot of things that you do, and you don't have to do the exact same thing. Like, there are some spots you can see that I did it a little differently, and I was really happy with the results. And it's just shading, and then I went back in where where it was really dark, and then I just used my pencil and went over those really dark spots, and then it really popped. And I know you can't see it that well on the camera, but I think you get the idea. So I'm incredibly excited with the VR sculpting. I have some very big plans for this holiday season, and I think you're going to be impressed. And I'm ready to increase my skills, and I'm going to teach you in the next video how I was able to learn all this self-taught so quickly. I don't do very good with online tutorials. Like, I know I have a few tutorials on this channel. I don't do very good with tutorials. Like, I don't know, I have ADD or something. I don't know. Like, I can listen in a conversation extremely well, like better than most people, but I can't like sit down and like watch somebody talk about how they do something. I'm sorry. Oh, also there is a sale on Elegoo right now. You can check the link in the description. I use Elegoo printers. I've had extremely good success, repeatable success with those printers. I have the Elegoo Neptune 3s, like the basic ones, and they work. They work great. I don't know if you saw my recent community post, but they just had a Black Friday sale and the prices are cheaper than Amazon directly for if you order from Elegoo, and they had some extra discount on there for the Black Friday month, and I wouldn't miss it if I were you. Let's just say there may be a resin printer on the way. I'm excited because now I'm getting into the higher detailed sculpting and I can see the limits of the FDM style printing. And I really want to use the two together to make some really cool things for you all. I'll also be posting to Cults 3D. That's where a lot of my 3D printables can be found. There's some free stuff there. And there's also stuff that you can download that will directly support me. And in the next video, I'm going to go into detail of how I was able to learn all these things so quickly. Like, you know, I'm very busy. I got a lot of stuff that I do during the day, but I was able to figure this out fairly quickly with, you know, not too much time. Like the pumpkin thing, that's seasonal. I'm going to cover how I was able to accelerate my learning process, and it's a lot easier than you think. So stay tuned. Thanks for watching.